Okay, good morning and welcome to this morning's virtual webinar, which is being held by CPI Media Group, Alpha Data and Veritas. My name is Mark Forker and I'm the editor of Computer News Middle East, and I'll be the moderator for today's interactive session. The topic of today's session is going to focus on ransomware, which has quickly become the preferred method of choice for cyber attackers. Gartner has projected that cybercrime will cost the global economy $6 trillion annually by the end of 2021, which is up from $3 trillion in 2015. With 43% of online attacks now aimed at small businesses, where only 14% of them are properly prepared to defend themselves, owners are increasingly making high-tech security a top priority. We're joined this morning by a panel of IT experts who will disclose how businesses can gain the resiliency that is ultimately required to combat attacks and ransomware. Before we kickstart our session, I'd like to give our attendees a quick run-through of this morning's agenda. Our first speaker will be Manish Kadam, Sales Account Manager at Veritas Specialist at Alpha Data, who will give us an introduction on Alpha Data and its close relationship with Veritas. Tariq Al-Ridi, Senior Solutions Sales Engineer at Veritas, will deliver a presentation entitled Ransomware Resiliency with Veritas, Protect, Detect and Recover. Following the conclusion of Tariq's presentation, he will then join me and Manish, along with Amir Hussain, Regional Channel Sales Manager at Veritas, for a panel discussion which will highlight the importance of protecting your data across physical, virtual and cloud environments. I'd also like to encourage all our attendees to make this session as interactive as possible. So please feel free to submit your questions via the chat function on your platform throughout today's session. So that's enough from me for now. So I'll hand you over to Manish for his introduction and speak to me later. Thank you. Over to you, Manish.
Yep. Good morning, everyone. Hope everybody is doing fine. So, as you know, most of our allied customers, they do know what we do, who Alpha Data is, but I'll just give a quick brief on what we do for the ones who are new over here. So we are 35 years plus old in this region. So predominantly well with the 1,200 plus workforce across Dubai and Abu Dhabi, and we have a turnaround of around 1.3 plus billion, and we have a huge number of allied client base, which is cut across federal, it's about enterprise, BFSI, and basic other verticals, and we have the highest level of certification for the ISO as well. So basically, we are one of the very few early adopters wherein we started the digital transformation as a journey with all the allied customers. So basically, we have our 5 pillars, namely security, mobility, cloud, big data, and IoT. So everybody, even before COVID days, people were talking about the digital transformation. Now it's a norm. So we are there. We are the first early adopters, which helped most of our customers in terms of going digital. So we have our expertise in different versions of security. Even before COVID, we were with mobility. We were seeing people traveling around the globe, wherein they wanted to work from wherever they want, and we were the ones who would help our customers to do that. And when it comes to cloud, earlier it started with public cloud, but as of now, with respect to the current trend, we see a lot of customers who are going for either private, public, or they want a combination of both, hybrid cloud. So we are there, we have done that. And once, as you see, since people are going digital, so the data is increasing crazy. So we have major projects on big data and IoT platforms, wherein we have a combination of hardware and software and analytics to go on top of it. So we are very well versed with that. Apart from this, and we have a traditional IT business wherein we used to carry from 30 plus years to our customers, right from networking, right from security, compute, storage, and it will go down to backup and all the stuff. So we are there, we are doing that, and it's a major chunk of our IT business which we get. So basically, if you see, more than 30, we have a very huge service wing. We have around 600 plus people across Dubai and Abu Dhabi, who are into services with multiple vendors, multiple platforms, and we provide 24/7 support over there. And we are very proud to say that we, out of our revenues, more than 30% of it comes from services. This shows how the customers trust us. So we go hand in hand. It's not just that we go sell it. We give them a solution. We provide them right from consulting. We take care of the implementation, and we give them the 24/7 services. So we have a huge team and huge pool resource. We do that. So this is how our services team look like. So if you get into large project management, if you see, we have done the highest level of certification for projects and project management. So we have most of our employees trained, certified, and currently working on different projects. When it comes to Veritas, we have the highest level of partnership with Veritas. So we go hand in hand with Veritas in solving our customers' major digital problems. We are the platinum partners, which is the highest level of partnership with Veritas. So we work very closely with Veritas and team. So advantages, if you see the basic advantage, so why Alpha Data? So we are the one-stop solution providers, wherein we start right from consulting, right before the scratch, and we help you out throughout the implementation phase. We provide you all the services required. So we are one-stop solutions. Once you get in touch with Alpha Data, you don't need to worry about anything else. And with respect to the current market scenario, you see the financial stability plays a very vital role, and very well financial stable organization. So we have a proven track record with major customers, wherein we provide them the major financial stability needed during this COVID times as well as the regular times. So if you come with Alpha Data, we will provide you the best of services. Out of our last 3,000 plus customer base, we have enlisted few, but we have a huge amount of customer base for there. So if there, I would like to give it to Mark. Mark, you can carry on with the presentation.
Thanks for that, Manish. Thanks for giving us that brief overview of your relationship with Veritas and some of the highlights of Alpha Data's very successful 30 years. To Tariq El-Ridi, he's the Senior Solution Sales Engineer at Veritas. He's going to deliver a presentation entitled Ransomware Resiliency with Veritas, Protect, Detect, and Recover. Over to you, Tariq.
Thank you, Mark, and thank you, Manish. Good morning, everyone. My name is Tariq. I'm the Senior Solution SE for Veritas. So, very interesting topic we would like to talk about, ransomware, and our theme for today will be Protect, Detect, Recover. The reason that I picked up this theme is because this is part of a NIST framework. I'm gonna explain what is NIST framework. Part of it is Protect, Detect, and Recover. Okay. So I'm not gonna spend some time in the challenges. We all know the challenges these days, but we see people moving from local to cloud, and they're interested to move to the cloud. But while migrating to the cloud, they sense the complexity of the migration. Suddenly, when they move to the cloud, they see their data is exposed publicly, and how they can protect it. It's more exposed to be ransomware attacked. It's more exposed to be publicly attacked by ransomware and viruses and malwares. So moving to the cloud, yes, everyone is moving to the cloud, but it has certain challenges. Storage cost, when you move everything without knowing which data that you should delete or move or keep it on a low retention, that's a cost on you at the end. Data now is something that if you understand it, if you link the data to your business, if you know what kind of information that you will have, you as a management decision, you will take more decision to more productivity in your environment from a business point of view. Of course, compliance data that you move to the cloud, it has sensitive information. do you know that you have these kind of sensitive information? Do you know that some of the file that you are moving to the cloud, it has PII, it has credit card information, it has IP addresses. You as an IT, you need to know that some of your employees are putting certain data, certain critical information, and you need to be aware, is it allowed, not allowed? From a compliance, you need to control this. Business continuity, to keep all your business critical systems up and running. How much it costs, what's your RPO, what's your RTO, and ransomware. On top of all these challenges we have these days, we have ransomware challenge. Now, we saw from the analysis that ransomware, they declined on the consumer business, which is the small businesses. The reason why, because when they encrypt and they ask for money, the customer said that I'm not bothered, I can live without data, I can go back to 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, that's fine. So they started to feel that they are wasting time, but they are increasing in the enterprise business. Because of the enterprise business, the government, the security, aviation, airlines, all these kind of companies, they cannot lose 1 second. They cannot lose 1 minute of data. So, and that's why when they attack successfully, unfortunately, if you don't have a proper backup solution, you don't have an option except to pay. And we saw a couple of examples in the market. Mercic, Mondelez, FedEx, all these well-known companies, I'm sure that they were having a good IT infrastructure, but are they having a proper backup solution for their data? Do they protect their data in the right way? Yes, most of the customers, they have backup solution. But what about your retentions? What about your backup policy? Are you protecting your database only, or database logs, transactional logs, and how often you are protecting your transactional log? All these kind of things, IT should know how to set the right rules and the policies in order to avoid these kind of situations. And it's me, yani it's before anything, before moving forward, and I feel, and a lot of people in the marketing analysis feel that it's not about how we are going to be attacked, it's about when we are going to be attacked, unfortunately. So we need to be prepared. If the attack happens, that you will be able to restore the data successfully back on the right time that you were attacked. So this is just a simple example, and I'm getting this, putting this in the presentation because it's really, really very confusing. Me, myself, as an IT, selling backup and selling products against ransomware, I can fall into that trap. This is just an example. Forget about, I need a pointer here. Okay, let me zoom in. Forget about these images. This is LinkedIn. That's when the encryption happens, what will happen. But this is the one that I want to show you, which is an SMS coming related to the COVID. So most of the people, they are panicked. They are scared about the COVID. They want to know more about the COVID. And you suddenly on your mobile, you receive an SMS saying that COVID, urgent. And this is coming in the UK. UK government has issued certain payments to all residents. Please click on that to claim the amount or to whatever. Very, very, I will not say clever, I would say savvy or intelligent way of putting the people into that trap. One click and you're in. So this is just an example of how ransomware can go into your environment. Now, from a journey perspective, once you clicked on that link, email or SMS or file, it gets downloaded and it starts to execute. The first point to look for as a ransomware is your backup copy. It goes directly to, it has a list of certain connections and port numbers related to the backup solutions in the market. It goes directly to it and see if it can penetrate or it cannot. Because they started to change the way of executing the file in the environment, and the first thing it looks on is your backup copy. Once it is in, it will encrypt the backup and it will start encrypting your production system. Once it is executed, it will start spreading. Once it is spread and it has control, and it actually takes days, it will encrypt. Once it is encrypted, they will block your screen and they will ask you for the money to unlock it. So before moving forward, I just wanted to clear and set the baseline of what is NIST. I'm sure that a lot of you knows what is NIST, but just to make sure that everyone knows exactly what is it. NIST is it's a framework. It's guidelines by US government created to set the rules and the guidelines on how and what you need to do to protect your data from any security threats, from ransomware, from human errors, deletion. It's a guideline. It's publicly available on the internet. You can download the document and read it. It sets the rule on your data center. Now, they have 5 elements, starting from identify, which is this part, until protect, detect, respond, and recover. Now, what we as Veritas, we can do, we will help you apply protect, detect, and recover. We will help you apply the NIST regulation in your environment using Veritas products, how to protect, how to detect if there is a problem happen, how to recover safely. All these can be achieved by Veritas products. So we will start from there, talking about Veritas products applying NIST to protect you from ransomware. The golden rule for a backup is 3-to-1. Different backup destinations. You need to have 2 different kind of backup medias. So talking about destination, so as an example, you need to have a copy in your headquarters, of course, a copy in your disaster recovery, a copy is offsite. 3 different copies. 2 different medias, you can have the first copy on a disk and then to a tape, or have the first copy on a disk and then to another disk, which is for the long-term retention, or to a cloud. You must have 2 different kind of backup medias, because the way of attacking data is it differs from the medias and the type of connections between these 3 different medias. So you must split the data across the media that you have, and at least 1 copy should be offsite, in a vault, in a safe, in a cloud, in something called air-gapped site, which I'm going to talk about what is exactly air-gapped. But you must have a copy offsite. People, and I can see a lot of people, they put the data, so they have a headquarter and they have a disaster recovery, and they want to protect their database. So the backup policy goes like this: 30 days daily full in head office, and then replicate after the 30 days to the DR. This is, I see it a lot. And they think that because they are moving the data after the 30 days to the DR, they are okay. But what happens if the 30 days copy got corrupted? You will not have it in the disaster recovery. So you must have a copy synchronized daily, or maybe an hourly if you have a good connection, across different sites. All the copies should be replicated, not after the retention or after the primary copy. So we talked about protect, recover, and detect. we are going to cover now how we can help applying NIST to achieve protect and recover. The first thing is, of course, with NetBackup. So with NetBackup, I'm sure everyone knows what's NetBackup. You can apply the 3-to-1 rule. You can have 3 copies across different sites. So we have a synchronous copy or asynchronous copy of your backup copy. Once the data is written, we can replicate the data, the copy itself, to the disaster recovery. We can write to a different location and then synchronize back to your primary copy. We can split your data across 2 different medias, disk and tape, disk and cloud, disk and disk, or a different disk for long-term retention. We can track your data off-site. If you have vaulting, if you have safe, we can track it using the barcodes. We are going again to talk about what exactly is air gap, but air gap is basically, to summarize it until we go to the slide, you have a site and you decided to have a tapeless environment, so you don't have tape. So that disk is available in the disaster recovery. It has an IP connection and it's open 24/7. This is a security threat. So how can we secure that kind of connection? We're gonna talk about, which is called air gap. We have in version 8.3, which is released last month, something called immutable copy or immutable storage. And basically, when you want to give the full protection to a certain backup policy or certain data, let's say critical data, business critical data, certain database, you want to lock it down. You want to avoid any kind of deletion or encryption, or just lock the data for at least 1 year. That's called immutable storage or immutable copy. And basically with that immutable copy, when you lock your data from any kind of deletion or encryption, nothing can get in. Not even the administrator, not even the backup admin, not the DBA. No one can change and do anything on that data. It's called immutable copy. Then that's extra lock level on the backup copy. So the data is, when we write it on a disk or a tape, the only one who gets access to this data is the backup admin, which is the administrator. And that administrator, he has the right, of course, to delete the copy or to move the copy. But when you activate the immutable copy for a certain backup copies, even the administrator, he cannot do anything else. So worst case scenario, ransomware attack happened, that copy will not be affected. And this is very important when you want to apply certain protection on a very critical database or very critical environment. With immutable copy, we have 2 different modes. We have the compliance mode and the enterprise mode. Compliance mode is basically encrypt and decrypt for a year. Enterprise mode, it's less aggressive lock, which is, it can be deleted, but it cannot be changed, or it cannot be encrypted, or nothing can happen to it. But it can be deleted. It depends, of course, on the data that you have. Now, that's a feature inside NetBackup. With our appliances, we released now our 5th generation of our appliances. We've been into the market for more than 20 years. From our appliance perspective, we are the most secured backup appliance in the market, and the reason that our appliance is approved and followed by DISA and STIC guidelines. It is a customized Linux operating system. It is hardened. It has intrusion detection. It has intrusion prevention. It has a lot. We passed a lot of security configuration, and we did a lot of guidelines. We took a couple of months, maybe a couple of years, until we got the approval that we are the protected backup appliance from the US government. And that's why we are STIG and DISA compliant. So we talked about the 3-to-1 rule, which is 3 different copies, 2 different medias. And that's exactly why we have the Access appliance. I hope that you can see my pointer. So you have your backup appliance, you have your client, it's backing up to your backup appliance. That backup appliance, it can be NetBackup, it can be any backup solution. Okay, it can be, as an example, Veeam on data domain, it can be Rubrik, it can any backup solution. So we have an access appliance, okay, which is tapeless, disk-based appliance, and that's mainly for the long-term retention. So it has certain connections. You can, let me go to this slide. It supports NFS, SMB, FTP, and iSCSI. So any backup solution can backup directly to that appliance. NetBackup or any other backup solution can extend the backup policy to write the long-term retention on that appliance. This appliance is 2 controllers, highly available, powered by InfoScale file system, clustering file system. It starts by 250 terabyte and supports up to 2 petabyte deduplicated. It means that maybe at least 10 times of the data that you can put it on that appliance. So this is one enclosure, by the way. With that disk enclosure, it's 750. 10 times 7 petabyte, you can put any amount of retention on that single disk enclosure, and it supports up to 4 disk enclosures. It's not only for backup, you can use it for enterprise vault, you can use it for any archiving solution. Rather than writing the archiving data to a disk, no, that access appliance, it supports access to the archived data. You can use it also for CCTV, and you can use it for healthcare system. So it's a disk-based NAS appliance for long-term retention and low performance data like the archive data and the CCTV data. You can write to it using these protocols, and you can offload the data to a cloud using S3 if you want to move the data off-site or to a different cloud or to a different access appliance in the disaster recovery. You can use it in and out for the long-term retention data. And of course, that's removed the hassle of tape generation, migration, moving the data between different migration, putting the data in safe. LTO2 is not supported anymore. How can I move the data? The media is not reliable. All these kind of complexity with the access appliance, it is eliminated. We talked about our appliances. So all our appliances, access appliance, NetBackup appliance, Flex appliance, Robo appliance, which is a small appliance for the branches. All they are protected and hardened, and they have a Symantec product called Symantec Data Center Security, and it is mainly for the intrusion prevention and intrusion detection. Any attacks, any malware attacks, it has the guidelines for the hardening the operating system. All is built in with a dedicated security solution. Now, most of the appliances in the market, yes, they protect, but they don't have a dedicated security solution like what we have, which is Symantec Data Center Security. So we talked about recovering the data, but we recover the data from backup. Data is deleted, we restored the data, but we didn't talk about recovering the data in a different location from a service, from an availability perspective, a service availability, financial application up and running in a different location. So we have InfoScale. It's part of the protect and recovery. So InfoScale, it's a file system, it's clustering, it's a storage replication, and it's availability. It runs across It's a hypervisor agnostic. It's a hardware agnostic. You can have a financial application running on a VMware in a location, and you want to fail it over. You fail the financial application itself on the same operating system, but on Hyper-V. So it is supported. So we don't look into the hypervisor and anything below that. You can have a high availability. You can have stretch cluster, active passive or active active, and you can have GU cluster across different locations. InfoScale, it's one of the, it's actually is the leader in the area when it comes to business continuity, and maybe we can have a dedicated session one-to-one, but most of the enterprise companies worldwide and in UAE, they are all protecting the business critical system using InfoScale. We from a business continuity, we have business continuity and we have disaster recovery. The difference is active environment, which is business continuity InfoScale. The active passive on a VM level is Resiliency Platform. So Resiliency Platform is now part of NetBackup. It used to be a separate product that it has its own license, it has its own purchase order, but now, and even management, now we have it built in NetBackup. So when you buy NetBackup, you will have a disaster recovery solution for your VMs built in free of cost without extra cost on the NetBackup license. If you are an existing NetBackup customer, you just need to upgrade to version 8.3, and you will have 8.3. You will have VRP disaster recovery activated free of cost in your environment. You just need to configure it, and that's it. So Resiliency Platform is a disaster recovery solution that makes system available across different locations on the VM level, Hyper-V and VMware. This is just a comparison between a business continuity and disaster recovery between InfoScale and Resiliency Platform. So if we talk the differences, InfoScale is mainly focused on the application, database availability, financial service availability, CRM availability. It talks on the application level, regardless the hypervisor, regardless the storage. It does not depend on any kind of storage replication. We do replicate, we make available, fail over and fail back, and we make it active across the site. Resiliency Platform, it's on the VM level. Of course, and again, we don't depend on a storage replication. We can integrate with a storage replication, or we can manage the storage replication, or we can do the replication by ourselves. Both of them, they have automatic recovery. The differences between InfoScale and Resiliency is mainly RPO and RTO. RPO and RTO on InfoScale is much more aggressive. And RPO is less, up to 15 minutes. You can have an active disaster recovery, active. You can split the load between the same application across two different sites. In Resiliency Platform, it's mainly active-passive concept. So high availability or business continuity, it goes to InfoScale. Disaster recovery, active-passive is only Resiliency Platform. For non-enterprise customers, we have, for when it comes to backup, we have Backup Exec, similar. We support 3-to-1 concept. We offload the data. We support warm and immutable copies, but on a smaller scale environment using Backup Exec. I'm sure everyone knows Backup Exec very well. So if you are an environment which runs around between 20 to 40 terabytes of data, Backup Exec is the right solution for you. And soon we are going to announce our Backup Exec Appliance, same like NetBackup. Now, it's hard for me to say this, but most of the attacks that happens in any environment, it does not come from our side. Our side, when I say our side, it means me, you as an IT. It comes from the employee. Financial, marketing, sales. non-IT employee. And usually it goes from the desktop. And this actually, it happened in front of me. I was sitting, actually it was 2.5 years back. I was sitting working on my laptop in a very well-known security company. And my colleague was sitting beside me. He was working and he started to say, Tariq, I cannot access any file. He didn't get the warning, but the files itself, when he tries to open it, it was inverted. The letters was inverted, and all the extensions of the file was removed, and all the files was locked to be opened. And this mainly, when I started to talk with him, what happened? A week back, he received an email from the marketing. But the marketing, the email of the marketing was having an extra letter, marketing E, at samecompany.com, which is very, very, very clever. And he opened it. Khalas, ransomware is in. It took 1 week and then started to encrypt one by one. The good thing that the company itself was very strong when it comes to protecting the data from a backup perspective, but they didn't expect that the attack can happen from the desktop. So having a backup solution for your desktop is very important. We, in that company, yes, because the data was in SharePoint, on NAS, on these kind of data centers shared in a single environment in the data center, they was able to retrieve the data, to restore the data. But anything related to the desktop personal is gone. So if you must protect your desktop in order to be able to restore the data, especially for the VIP users. Because, C-level VIP users, they sometimes they want to have some personal environment or critical files that they don't want to share, so they just save it on the desktop or My Documents, whatever. Or maybe they have some favorite websites. All this can be gone except when you have a desktop protection. Now, I think this is the last slide in the protection and recovery, and 70% or 80% of what from the customer that I meet, they move the data to Office 365 or Gmail or whatever. So, and the 50% that I move to the cloud, I'm protected. They are taking care of the backup. And we start have this kind of arguments. Yes, Office 365, they keep telling me that, yeah, I can restore the data in 30 days or 90 days. Yes. First question, how long it takes for you to restore the data? Can you search for the data when someone comes to you and he wants to search for a certain email with certain attachment, he deleted by mistake, and he wants to restore it, and you as an IT, how long it takes for you to search for that data to restore it? What happens if the data is older than 90 days? What happens if the legal come to you and told you that you need to search for a data a long time back for any legal case or compliance case? Now, with Microsoft and any service provider in the contract, I think the third or the fourth point, I can share this with you. In any contract, the data is the customer's responsibility. The service cloud provider, they protect the platform availability, the virtual machine availability, the service availability, like the email or the file or the SharePoint, but they cannot protect the user data. They protect it for maximum 90 days if you have the most highest level of agreement with them. But after that, the data is gone. So you must have a SaaS protection. You must have an Office 365. And we in Veritas, we have a SaaS backup. We can protect your Office 365, Gmail or G Suite, and Salesforce to our SaaS environment. And then you can download it. If you want to have an offline copy in your environment, you can download it to your environment. So protecting the data, we can protect your OneDrive, your email, your SharePoint, and you can have a restore, granular level restore, you can have attachment restore, you can have calendar restore, Teams, Skype for Business. All this, it can be restored, and without any kind of hardware installation, with unlimited amount of retention, unlimited amount of storage. Final slide in protection and recovery, which is the air gap I talked about in the beginning, that you have a site, and that site, you decided as a company that you don't want to have a tape, or you don't have a safe, or you cannot offsite the media to a certain location. Or you have a tape and you want to move to a tapeless environment. But with the ransomware protection and the NIST, you cannot have this. You must have the IP connection up and running. So we in the air gap, if you have this scenario with any backup solution, you must have two different appliances, and it will have the IP open across the two sites. Start replicating the data, and the data will be exposed to the internet, and it is open for any threat to come through. Now, with the air gap, you can have appliances from NetBackup with location 1, location 2, but we close the connection. We only open the connection when we want to replicate, and then close the connection back. And it's called air gap. Air, it's auto image replication, which is replicating our backup copy to the DR. Air gap is replicating it secured with opening the port while replicating and closing the port back. So even if anything happened, the copy of the disaster recovery is locked down.
Tarek, sorry to interrupt your presentation. I am really enjoying it. I'm not giving out to you here. I've just got a question that I want to ask you. Obviously, we see a lot of backup solutions in the market that have ransomware protection techniques. But what I want to know is what makes Veritas different from the other backup software?
Okay. All the backup solution, and we even in Veritas long time back, maybe 3-4 years back, we used to have a regular way of protecting the backed up data from ransomware attacks. Before I talk about the differences, let me clear the differences between an antivirus attack and a ransomware attack. Antivirus attack is, a virus attack, it's thousands or millions of attacks in a minute or in 2 minutes, just attacks very fast. And the antiviruses can catch these kind of speed or fast pattern of attacks. Ransomware, it's very slow. Ransomware attacks every 15 minutes. Yeah, the file goes through and sits, then 15-minute attack or encrypt, another 15-minute encrypt. And that's why in the beginning, antivirus was not able to catch the ransomware. All the backup solutions, it can detect these very slow patterns of attack. It will not say that it's a ransomware, but it will send a notification to the administrator saying clearly that there is something wrong here. We felt that there is an encrypted data happening every 15 minutes, and we are locking down the backup, but after certain attacks happens. So that's number one, pattern attack. Backup solutions can detect a pattern attack after the attack happens, maybe after 10 or 12 times. Second, it has a honeypot connection, honeypot technique. So honeypot is a security technique. You put pots or virtual locations across your backup copy, open for a ransomware attack. So when a ransomware attack happens to that copy, virtual copy, it locks down the backup data. And that's it. These are the two things that it is supported by most of the backup copies. Now, what we have extra, we have intrusion prevention detection. We have intrusion detection, intrusion prevention, intrusion detection, to prevent and to detect. We have our hardened appliance approved by STIG and the US government. We have hardened operating system. We have the immutable copy, which is very unique when it comes to backup solution. You can lock down certain data from any kind of compliance and deletion. Now, all the backup solutions in the market, the backup admin has full control on the backup. He can delete, anyone has this password, they can delete the data with. But with immutable copy, the new feature that we released a month back, data, it can be locked from even the backup admin to delete or to encrypt or to change.
Okay, thanks, Tarek.
You're welcome. Now, yeah, we covered protection, we covered recovery. Our last topic, which is detect, how we can help you detect if you have a problem. So we have two solutions. One of them is APTARE. APTARE is an IT, I'm repeating, IT infrastructure analytics. It looks on your IT, your VMs, your storage, your cloud, your backup solution, not related to NetBackup, any backup solution, your SAN switches, scanning, indexing, and correlates the data together to give you single view on what exactly is the problem and what you need to do to solve the problem. As an example, there is a high transaction on a certain VM related to an Oracle database, but we saw that the backup is not protecting the transactional log properly because we felt that that VM or that database is critical, but the retention or the backup policy is not meeting the criticality of the application. It brings it to you up clear. There is certain VMs that is overprotected. Well, yeah, let's say, as an example, you have two backup solutions and you're protecting the same VM, one maybe application level, one VM level. Or maybe you have a long retention for a system that is not critical. Let's say you have a file system backup or a VM level backup for a DHCP server, but you are giving it 1 year retention. This consumes a lot. There are certain ports on the SAN switches or certain connection on the SAN switches. There was a problem, but what are the VMs or what are the hosts has been affected by that SAN switch? So, and this is only few reports that I told you from 300 reports that we have to look into your infrastructure. Cost, chargeback, is the offsite copy has been moved successfully or not? If there is any error, any data that is misconfigured or misbacked up or misprotected, all these kinds of information, it can bring it in a single graphical user interface. And that is a 2-hour dedicated session only for APTARE. So if you are interested on understanding your data, understanding your infrastructure, either from the storage, from the cloud, regarding the backup solution, APTARE is the right decision for you. APTARE, it's an IT infrastructure analytic tool. Now we have Data Insight, which is file level analytic tool or file level solution to detect employee left, but the user still have access or has access to certain files. Administrator created a finance folder and the finance team are using it, but we felt that the administrator or that IT was trying to open the file 2-3 times after 1 year when he created it. Why? There are some files that we saw some PII information. There are some files that it has IP addresses. This folder on the NAS storage or the file system, there is a risk score 90%. Why? Because we saw, let's say, 10 files has been created not by IT, and it has IP addresses, and that case was real. In a security entity, we caught someone from a division not related to IT that he was having a Word document with a lot of IPs. Risk score was 100%, and it was a case. So Data Insight, it's a tool that it can give you the file level permissions, file level problem, NAS and files and users. So you can block down certain users. You can see what kind of strange behavior happening on your files across your infrastructure. All these kind of things will help you eliminate the ransomware to goes between your environment and start encrypting the data. Final slide, just to summarize what we said. We, again, as Veritas, we help you apply NIST regulation, framework, and guidelines on your environment, and we help you apply the protect, the detect, and recovery. We are not telling you here that you need to buy all these solutions, but you must have a product to recover. And that recover, it depends, recover for availability, recover from backup. It depends on your RPO and your SLAs. We we also asking you to have a solution to detect. You need to know what's happening in your environment, IT and file level. Okay, so thank you so much. I hope that it was fruitful and productive. Ready for Q&A anytime. Please feel free.
Hi, Tarek. Thanks for another superb presentation, as always. I think you articulated your points brilliantly. Now, there is no questions, but that is not a reflection on your presentation. I do these webinars all the time. So look, you covered a lot of information during that, and I think the attendees will have found it very, very informative and interesting. So we're going to have a Q&A now, Tarek. So I'll keep you online. I want to invite Manish and Amir to join us. So guys, feel free to jump on. Hi guys.
Hi.
Did you enjoy Tarek's presentation? Yeah.
As always, yes.
Good. You have to say that, don't you? Anyway, I'm going to come to you, Amir, first. So obviously during Tarek's presentation, he highlighted some of the methods that are causing ransomware infections in 2020. He cited phishing emails, malicious campaigns, but one of the points that I found interesting, and I think we've talked about it before, was a lack of security training amongst personnel. What I want to know from you are employees in many cases the biggest security threat to a company, and what do they need to do to try and prevent this?
Well, it's a matter of fact. So employees are usually very trusting for what they are used to. So if they see the company logo, if they see their, like nowadays, they can be socially engineered to do a quick response without validating it. They don't have enough tools on their hands to actually make sure that someone is who he's claiming to be.
Yeah.
It's quite common from, I guess, the 1990s to do social engineering. So people who are doing it are quite professional at doing it. Some of them even have a psychology degree. If you read some of the papers online, it's quite hard for employees to push back. So without having a mechanism to allow them to actually do, like me and Tariq, we would have a tool in our email that would analyze the header of an email before we respond to it. But you wouldn't expect, yeah. I mean, it's a common tool, but you wouldn't expect every employee to be able to read the output of those. So you'd first, very few companies in the UAE have implemented DMARC. So email impersonation is quite open. People can impersonate each other quite easily, to be quite honest. You don't do enough spear phishing tests. Like in our company, we do it regularly, and we have a hall of fame and hall of shame, so to speak. So
that sounds like a good tactic.
Yeah, so and they're usually quite crafted. So they use HR data to actually craft an attack from the outside, like your actual date of birth or something like that. So you'd start trusting it. I'm sorry to say, but I have fallen to one time. It was very well crafted, and it was
you have to say that, don't you?
Well, it was coming from Abu Dhabi Judicial Department saying that I have a fine, and if I don't click that link now and respond within the next 3 days, I would get in trouble and I would have to pay the fine. So I've tried my best to call Abu Dhabi Judicial Department and get an update on the thing. They said you have to travel and give us the note number. We cannot share that information over the phone. You have to prove that you are the person who you are claiming to be.
Yeah.
So I couldn't go, so I just had to open the link. You know, what can you do? You know, like, so I opened the link and then I got the bam, you're scammed.
Okay.
So yeah, but I do agree. I mean, like to make my long story short, everyone is vulnerable in the environment,
Yeah.
and it doesn't matter where you are. You are always a launch pad for a bigger attack.
Yeah.
Active Directory having what it have from architectural vulnerabilities that exists, and the amount of customers that do not implement BAM. I mean, it's just a matter of time before you are actually compromised.
Yeah.
So you can be as protective of your data as much as you can, but I don't think anyone is protected. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, I think I agree with what you're saying. And I suppose, like you say, everybody's vulnerable, but everybody's responsible as well.
True.
And that's part of it. So just before we move off, how many times did Tariq get into the Hall of Shame? Can you disclose that information? I'm only joking. And Manish, I want to bring you in. Thanks for that, Amir. Really good answer. Manish, you spoke obviously about Alpha Data success over 30 years in terms of how you help companies. But what I want to know is, you touched on during COVID-19 a lot of the challenges and how you helped a lot of your customers. How can you just go elaborate a little bit more on how you sort of helped them with a lot of the security challenges that they were having in terms of moving to remote working?
Sure. See, so as you rightly said, this was very, very, very instantaneous. So most of the customers, they were not ready. We never knew that lockdown will come at such a fast pace and that will be there for such a long period of time. And even though we were talking about the digital transformation from the beginning, but if you see the trend, most of them were not actually ready for this kind of situation. So luckily we were there right from, if you see what we have done is right from the thermal detections to bring AI on top of it. And we have helped our customers to go mobile, because that was a major challenge with the customers, because most of them were not used to going mobile. As you know, the region, they're very, very specific about the data. They're very, very worried about the data. They don't want anything over mobile. The mobility was a challenge. So we as a team, we gave them a complete solution wherein right from detection, the thermal cameras and the big data and the mobility bit, we were there with them. Fair, we were very, very successful in these times. Our business has blossomed, and the kind of relationship we had from the customers right from the beginning, if you see, and that has really helped, and it has been strengthened. Like, there were, even during these times, customers were very cynical, like they were not sure what people are doing. Everybody had a solution, but they didn't have a platform in place, they didn't have a team in place. Logistics was a challenge, not everybody was supplying over there. So we came in, we were very, very handy. And our team has moved very, very fast. We have worked with the government, so that's how people trusted us, and that's how we became a single source provider, wherein whatever the challenges, we were there and we were handholding the customer. We were there every step to get over this challenge. And as you see, probably last 10 years, where people are talking about the digitalization, now in last 3 months, the same thing happened, what the last 10 years didn't bring. So that's a change we see, and that's how we are doing very, very good. And our customers are very, very happy with the approach we're taking.
That's brilliant, Manish. Thanks for elaborating on that, and well done on your success. Tariq, I want to bring you back in. Look, as I said, great presentation. But what I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about was about the APTARE IT Analytics. Now, is the fact that it can detect anomalies, that could be ransom malware, is that what do you think really differentiates that tool from others on the market, the fact that it can detect ransom malware?
So APTARE does not tells you that you have a ransomware attack. Okay. APTARE will help you see the gaps that you have in your infrastructure, the problems that you have in your infrastructure related to ransomware and to a lot of other things, related to cost, related to certain environment is not protected, certain VMs is not, it has a high peak of attacks, of IO attacks happening. It can help you give the IT the visibility in order for them to put the infrastructure into the right policy, the right location, the right repository, know your cost, how much overestimated your cost, all these kind of information from an infrastructure analytic. This is APTARE that it can help. So there is no tool in the market that it can tell you that you have a ransomware. No, because when you have a ransomware, the attack already happened.
Yeah.
The software tells you that you have a ransomware, it's done already, it's done.
Yeah, it's done.
Okay. But these tools, APTARE and Data Insight, it helps you be prepared.
Be prepared. So can it help you prevent it, or is it more or less helping you to be able to respond and react quickly to a ransomware attack? Because as you said, a lot of the time it's not a question of if, it's a question of when.
It's a question of when, and it helps you to be ready. So certain VMs, certain environment is not properly protected. When a ransomware attack happens, you will not be able to recover the data. Okay. Certain backup policy is not properly configured for a critical system. The guy doesn't know, but APTARE, it can help you bring this up and clear, so you can put the right backup policy for you.
Just to add on top of it, Mark. So we have seen this in the industry. People will think that so security, in terms of security, if you have your antiviruses and firewall protected, it's safe. But as Tariq said, every minute there's a new virus attack. So it's better to be protected, have the bad data backed up and protected, rather than only invest in one thing. There is an ecosystem in place wherein Veritas is very good in that, what we have seen. So that ecosystem, that what Veritas manages, right, from protecting your data, having it backed up, and once the attack happens, to restore your data, that's a major challenge. That's one of the most critical pain point where customers are going through. That's where we are saying Veritas is doing great in that.
Yeah, and that's what obviously is ultimately differentiating for Veritas, you know, as a leading vendor, because of its ability to do that. So, Amir, do you want to comment on that, or have the guys covered everything? I think you're muted, Amir, are you? I think he's muted. Manish, I'll stay with you for a minute as well. So just, you know, during your introduction, we've got Amir back. Amir, you're back. Did you hear the guy's last response there? Is there anything you want to add to it?
No.
That's all right. That's all right. I was just giving you the opportunity. So actually, I wanted to talk to you again about Tariq's presentation. He talked about NetBackup, and you know, we talked about a lot of the unique capabilities of NetBackup. But what I wanted to know was, what, in your opinion, differentiates NetBackup from other reliable cross-system data protection platforms that are out there in the market?
To be quite honest, and that's the personal view based on my interaction with a number of banks and security entities. NetBackup have a role-based administration that come with a very detailed audit trail. So it has a end-to-end encryption mechanism. It is certified on all types of encryption when it comes to data storage, data transfer, and so data in transit and data at store, and data during the usage is protected. Storage utilization does not happen directly, unlike other backup vendors, without mentioning names. Whereas if a hostile code is running on the host that's running the backup, it does have access to the backups. Whereas in NetBackup, it's all API driven, and it's all you can do is actually expire a backup, and then admin would take notice. In role-based administration, only a user would have to actually authenticate twice, including SSO if that's a requirement, and then all of his actions are audited against only the systems that he's allowed to see. So because of NetBackup is quite, if you would like, for the lack of a better word, indestructible as an environment.
That's a good word.
which is what you would like for a backup environment. So if you would like your data to be protected, the protection environment itself needs to be recoverable in a multitude of ways. NetBackup, I mean, it's not the time nor the call, and Tariq can go through the details, but NetBackup have, at least from what I can remember, around 20 mechanisms to maintain the data, recover the data, and recover itself in case something happens to it, or rebuild itself in case it's not recoverable.
Wow. So what was that, 20 mechanisms? Is that what you said?
Yeah, so that's what I've been introduced to when I was young and technical. So nowadays, I'm pretty sure Tariq would know much more about what's in the software. But there used to be a lot of white papers regarding one feature or two features, and it's a well-hidden secret, because all of those are features. They're not products. They're not add-ons. If you have a NetBackup, then you have it all. It's up to you if you would like to put in the effort to configure it or not. Did you sign up with the right partner to give you the idea about what's available or not? And you can recover it. The other thing is it's actually accessible to system owners, which is what you would like it to be. So in NetBackup, you can search for a single file and recover it using a file name, and that can be the deciding factor between you deciding if a backup is recoverable or not, if you can find it. Because a user would tell you, I need the backup of this file, where what you would usually have is either tape ID or tape barcode or an image ID or a date. A user don't have that information. So NetBackup Catalog allows you to visually find that information quite quickly, which is quite unique to NetBackup. NetBackup, I guess, is the only the first solution to reach 1 terabyte of catalog and then 10 terabytes of catalog, which is the metadata of the backup. That's huge.
Yeah.
So,
that's a great answer, Amir. You've covered a lot. Tariq and Manish, do you want to add anything to what Amir's just said?
Probably anyways has covered everything. So that's good.
Tariq, do you want to add anything about NetBackup?
You have an hour?
No, 1 minute. I'll give you 1 minute. Tell me why NetBackup is good. 1 minute, go.
We have a very unique features. I will just touch it. The immutable copy is unique. So all the backup copies that for all the backup solutions, it has an access through the backup admin. With immutable copy, it's uncomparable. To lock down certain critical data from any kind of deletion or encryption, this is unique. Second, we have accelerator. I don't want to talk technical, but I'm technical. I need to know how to do this, but it's a backup. It's a backup without scanning phase. So scanning phase is the most time-consuming phase in the backup cycle. This is a backup without scanning phase. You can back up your data in seconds or minutes maximum. Okay, our database is based on Sybase, not like SQL or Microsoft products. Our environment is based on Linux, not like Windows. So we have a lot of unique features in NetBackup that it's not uncomparable with the other in the market.
That's brilliant, Tariq. That's great. And just over a minute, but really, really good effort from you there. Thanks for that, Tariq. Manish, I just want to bring you back in as well. Going back to your introduction, you talked about you helped your customers in terms of hybrid cloud. You know, there's that demand where they wanted the best of private, the best of public. Why did you see an upsurge in demand for hybrid cloud? And was it in terms of protecting their data from a security aspect, or what was your opinion on why there was such an upsurge in demand for hybrid cloud?
Where we see a drastic change over here is in terms of the perspectives of the customer. Okay, earlier people are very stringent that okay, we can't do this, we can't do that.
Yeah.
So things are changing. So there's a mindset change. So there's evolution for earlier. So what we have seen in the last 3 to 5 months or 6 months is there is a drastic shift. Okay, there's a mindset change. People are open now. At least they're talking about it, because there are a few challenges which they are facing. They never used to face it before. Let's say 20 years back, they're huge. I mean, their data centers are huge. They are using it from past 20, 25 years, but still, they're very pessimistic. Like, okay, do we need a change? So that's where the hybrid cloud came in. People are like, okay, if we can't go for proper public cloud, let's try something, because you never know what the situation comes. Yeah. And when the IT sector is, I mean, the West is going on using this from traditionally very long time. Now this is a new norm for them. But here, what we saw this changes predominantly the mindset change of the customer.
The mindset.
That's where probably the situation is the reason. But yeah, that's what we see.
That's brilliant. Thanks for that, Manish. Look, guys, we're coming towards the end of the panel discussion, but we just got a question from one of our attendees, and it says, if lockdown settings were enabled in Backup Exec Management Console, will it protect backup data sets from a ransomware attack? Let me know if you want me to repeat that again.
Yes.
If lockdown, sorry?
Repeat it, yes. So can everyone hear it again? Yeah.
If lockdown settings were enabled in Backup Exec Management Console, will it protect backup data sets from ransomware attacks?
Okay, to rephrase the question, if a ransomware attacked certain backup copy in NetBackup or Backup Exec, what will happen to the rest of the backup data sets? So the answer, two answers. So access to a certain backup data set, it comes from a dedicated access from a certain pointer from the client that has been protected to. So if you are backing up a database and you are writing it to a storage, and you are backing up a VM and writing it to the same storage, the database client does not have access to the VM backed up data. So it's a one-to-one connection. So if by any reason this attack happened on the database, the same attack cannot affect other backup sets. And this is mainly because of the security element that we have between our client and our backup copy. That's one. Second, when an attack happens to our copies, we quarantine, we isolate that backup copy. We locked it down and we quarantine it. This is the right word, but I'm sure that everyone knows what quarantine means. And we isolated and we locked down the service and we informed the administrator that attack happened. The backup data is locked down. You need to restore. Yes, we can restore. But data will be blocked from the same client that has been attacked to.
Okay, that's brilliant. Tarek, great answer. I think you've answered that brilliantly there. And look, guys, that brings us to the end of our Q&A discussion. I want to thank Manish for jumping on the panel discussion. Really enjoyed your contributions, Manish, and as well Amir Hussain, the Regional Channel Sales Manager at Veritas.
Thanks, Marco team.
Tarek, as always, a pleasure speaking to you, and no doubt I'll be seeing you again in the future. But really, thanks again for another great presentation, and some of your answers to the Q&A were great. I want to thank all our attendees as well for joining us today. We do really appreciate everybody taking time out of their schedules to jump on the call and listen to Tarek and us speak about ransomware and protecting your data. So we really do appreciate it, and that's it for me, guys. So thanks a million. It's been a pleasure, and we'll speak to you all again soon.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
see you all guys soon.
Thanks everyone.
Thanks,
so you can reach out to us if there's any queries. If you want to learn something new, we are there. If there's any problem, we are there to help. So you can reach out to us for any queries as such in person also. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Tarek. Thank you, team.
Thanks, Manish. Take care, guys.
Have a nice day, guys. Bye.
Bye.